Hi everybody, this is Beth McCullough and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I blog at stampingmom.com. My husband Steve is here today with me.
Hi everybody.
And he is going to answer questions. So if you want to chat with Steve, he's on the computer. So how is your day, Steve?
My day's been going well. Working hard in my home office and taking breaks every now and then to come find my beautiful wife.
Oh, you're sweet. I pay him to say that, by the way. Just kidding. Okay, so here's what we're making today. Last week, I asked, what do you want to see this week? And Mary Harris said, let's do fall or Thanksgiving cards, which really can be one and the same. Here's a fall card in traditional colors. And as far as Thanksgiving, I would use this for Thanksgiving too. I send Thanksgiving invitations out every year to everyone who attends our Thanksgiving celebration. And I would send something like this with them, with the details inside. But both of these cards use the Life is Beautiful stamp set. It's a really pretty stamp set in the fall mini catalog. And this one, I also put sequins in the trees and spots down here. And it says, Happy Fall, y'all. The Happy Fall, y'all is from the banner year. That's where the squirrel is from, too. So I showed this to Steve, and tell him what you said.
Well, you know, I like bold, bright colors, and these are beautiful fall colors, but I wasn't too attracted to the colors of the stripes in the background.
So, there you have it. So then I made another one. And this one is actually casing my sweet friend Sharon Burkhart. She is on the Festive Friday Challenge design team with me. She made a beautiful card similar to this. And Jean and I were playing last weekend, and so we made it. And it's got, you like this better, right?
I do. It's got bolder colors on it.
Yeah. So thanks, Sharon, for your inspiration. We can all get inspiration from each other. So this is a thank you card. And then I like the little flowers sprinkled around. The flowers are from this punch that's called the Confetti Flowers Border Punch. Mary, you got on. You missed it. I just told everyone that we're doing fall cards today because that's what you asked for. So I'm glad you're here. Here's my Fall Joyfold card in traditional colors. And here it is in the bright, bold colors for Steve, not necessarily fall.
So I agree with Courtney, and Karen in particular said she really likes the folds. And I think that's really cool too, how the bottom fold is big and it's like the full card, but what you fold over the top of it is just this piece.
Right, right. So they call this Joy Fold, and I'm going to give you the measurements and show you two other cards. Kathy, I hope you're recovering well after your surgery. And I have some more fall cards to show you even after these two. Okay, so on this one I put measurements. So I like to make a card and then make it all different ways, and it's kind of like a rabbit trail. I get going and then I'll show you some of the things I did from this. So first you need a piece of cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, and then I scored it at 5 1/2. This is Cajun Craze. I ran this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I'll show you all three folders at once. This one happens to be the Wrapped In Texture. This is in the mini catalog. And then I also used, on the cards I'm going to show you today, Tasteful Textile 3D, and also the Subtle 3D embossing folder. So they mix well, and I feel like, don't you think fall, as it does get cooler, it's blankets and warmth and, I don't know, layers. So I like to have the texture. So that's what this is, and I just ran the bottom part through and left the back of the card the way it was.
Okay, so how do you do just the bottom part?
Well, you put it in the embossing folder like this, up to the seam, and then I wrap it around where the card is already folded, and then I run it through this way.
Oh, so then can you run the whole thing through the machine, or do you stop there and back it up?
Well, after it gets past this, there's not enough tension, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It just goes through. This is Stamping 101 for Steve along the way. Right?
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Somebody else might have had that question.
Well, see, that's my thought of, you may have people at all different levels of stamping that are watching, so they can benefit from my ineptitude.
What would your level be, hon?
Below beginner, whatever that is.
Below beginner. There's nothing below beginner. Okay, so now we're going to put a layer, and I'm going to use Early Espresso. Also ran it through the subtle embossing folder, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm doing a couple of these, so it would be fun if your supplies are handy. You could cut your cardstock and do it along with me. So on the other cards, on this one, I had DSP for this layer, the stripes. Here I have embossed cardstock. And now on this card, I didn't put a layer at all because I wanted the flowers to show up. So I would use the basic measurements and then change it all the way you want it to be.
So while you're taking a break, I am going to say happy birthday to Mary Harris's husband, who's turning 60.
Oh, happy birthday. What's his name? Did she say?
She didn't say, but I can tell you that that's a big event in a man's life, and not necessarily completely in a good way.
Oh, sure it is. We have 2 dear friends turning 60 next week. Janine Pollock and Jill Knopf are both celebrating their 60th birthdays next week.
Well, if he's anything like me, he's starting to see that there's more aches and pains, and you can't do all the things you could when you were 30. So it's a little bit of a realization to come to.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first part of your joy fold. The second part is this. And this cardstock is 3 1/4 wide. Oh, Karen says she loves it when you ask questions. Good job, honey.
I like Karen too. I'm glad she's watching today.
Did you hear that, Karen? Okay, so this layer of the joy fold is 3 1/4 by 8 1/2, and it's scored at 4 1/4. I hope that helps. I thought I'd put the measurements on labels that'll be covered up in the card. Or I could send this card to someone and they could tear it apart, and there all the measurements would be. So when you're doing the card, I just think it's easy to use the multi-purpose glue. You have the wiggle room to move it around the way you want. And you're just going to center this card on the center of the Early Espresso. So I just kind of put it down and then eyeball it so it looks...
So it's like a card on a
pretty
card.
Straight. It is. There's more joy in a card on a card, don't you think?
Twice as much.
Okay, so this layer is Pretty Peacock. And this went through the Tasteful Textile 3D. And also the leaves. I need to show you the leaves if you haven't seen them. This Love of Leaves set is amazing. It's got photopolymer stamps, and then it has these die cuts. And so you take this die cut and run it through. That's what I did to get this. But then as I was doing it, you know how I told you I have the rabbit trails? I'm going to take this apart and then, well, here's one over here. It has, if you put this part... So this cut out this crushed curry leaf, and then this part does the embossing. And isn't that a beautiful leaf? So then I took some of the scraps and pieces of what I made, and I'll show you. I just made more things with it. Does that surprise you, hon, that I take the leftovers and make things out of it?
So Courtney says she really likes this glue, particularly on textured or embossed stuff. Is there anything special about this glue?
Well, you buy it from Stampin' Up! And it's only $4. It's probably the most economical way to put your cards together, and it also stays. The old snail, sometimes when I had cards that were years old, don't ask me why I didn't send them, they would fall apart. And who wants their cards to fall apart? Okay.
Karen wants to know if you emboss before you cut out.
What I did, Karen, is I cut out the leaf first, and then I embossed it just like I did this. I just put in the top layer, and then I took a scrap of the plaid tidings. I love this plaid tidings paper. I think it's actually on back order, but you can still order it. So pretty. And I literally just took a scrap and Scotch tape, and this actually was left over from the other cards I'm making, so I knew how much I had, and just did that. You could also pop it up on dimensionals, so there's more dimension between these two. I'll do it that way on a different one, but the DSP is thinner, so I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. Well, then when you open the card, how's this look, Steve? It says Pretty Peacock in this taped on scrap that doesn't match.
That looks like one of my cards.
Okay, so.
Oh, you cover it up. That's what you do.
Oh, Ruby's back. Hi, Ruby. She says this is one of her favorite papers. So yes, I am going to cover this up with a plaid tidings piece of DSP, and it's 3 inches by 4 inches. You called your mom, Ruby, yesterday, didn't you?
I talked to her today.
Did you talk to her? How is she?
She's doing well. They take the good and the bad at her assisted living center. They're now doing all their meals in the cafeteria, but now they can't do as many porch visits for people that want to come visit, because they can't have porch visits at the same time they have everybody in the cafeteria. So
because there's people helping in there probably.
So she gets to see more of the residents, but she doesn't get to see as much as the people that want to visit her.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so I told you this plaid piece is 3 by 4. This Whisper White piece is also 3 by 4. And, you know, ever since I got the stamp set, it might be over there. It's called Banner Year. It says, Happy Fall, y'all. I don't know. It cracks me up. I like fall. We always, do you remember this, Steve? We always had a pumpkin party on trick-or-treat night.
Oh, yeah. So we would have fun because all the kids would be coming to the door, but then we'd have a whole bunch of adults here having our fall party at the same time. And they would bring their kids over, too, in their outfits. And
yeah, most of the party would happen when trick-or-treat time was over. But,
which made sense. I mean, it was usually over by 8 o'clock, and then everybody would just make us their last stop.
Do you remember how that got started? There was a book that I read to the kids called Too Many Pumpkins.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys have kids or grandkids, you need to get the book Too Many Pumpkins. And the main character is Rebecca Estelle, but I don't know who the author is. Do you think you could look it up?
I can certainly look it up.
It is a great book about a gal who didn't like pumpkins. And okay, so Happy Fall, y'all, is in Pretty Peacock. This is Old Olive on the stem and the leaf and the pumpkin. And all 3 of these things came from the Banner Year stamp set.
So not everybody in Iowa says y'all, but we've started to do it more now that our son moved to Texas, just to kind of tease him.
Yeah, but it's cute. I like the way, I don't know. It's just good. Okay, so then I thought we needed a bow on this, so I tied a double bow, and I used this braided linen trim. Tied a double bow. I'm going to take a mini glue dot. I'm actually going to roll it in a ball. I don't want any of it to show. And I'm going to put it on the back of the bow and just attach it here. And then I'm going to trim my strings a little bit. But anything fallish would look good with this. You can also use twine. You can use anything.
The request was made for you to demonstrate how to make the double bow.
Oh, making bows? I'm a little afraid of you guys. I don't know if I can make a bow on camera. Okay, I'll show you a trick I do.
While she's reaching for that, the Too Many Pumpkins book is authored by Linda White. And I'll help Beth put a link to the Amazon page for the book.
I know they have a paper book copy that isn't very expensive. Okay, so here's how I made the bow. See, if you weren't here, I wouldn't know till later anyone asked about the bow, and then I wouldn't have to make it on camera. So I guess...
Reading these little comments is hard work, but I'm willing to do it if it helps.
Okay, so you can do this with a fork, or you can, this is called a bow maker. Lots of people make them. You can get them anywhere. I don't know where I got this. I bought it 20 years ago. Okay, and that is, to me, the easiest way to do it. Except I have to remember every time I do it how to do it. Okay, so this, you wrap it around the two, what would you call those, poles, spokes, and then cross it over, go over the top and underneath, okay? So now we have two bunny ears, and now we're going to go around again. You know, I'm going to run out of string if I go with that one. So you just go around like this, around and around.
So you could do a triple bow if you wanted to.
You could. Some people do. And then we're going to go around again, over the top and underneath. And the string is a little messed up there, but this is how you get a double bow. Then you just tie it like you would, what do you call this, hon? A single knot?
Yep.
When you go over and up through. And
single
then
square knot. Yeah.
Then you have the double bow, and you can mess with it to make it the right size. Looks like Glenda is on. Glenda had an appointment. How did your appointment go yesterday? I hope it was successful. Okay, so this, let me know, and Steve will tell me what you said. Oh, hi, Bridget. See, I can see a couple people if I glance up.
Nancy's on, too.
Do you guys like this? I hope you think it's cute. Okay.
You're getting lots of positive feedback on this card.
Okay, good.
I think
Yay.
it's really cool, too.
Okay, so then I had scraps from this card, you know, the rabbit trail thing. So then I had to keep going. And I thought, well, we'll make another variation. So this time I used Pretty Peacock. And for those of you who just got on, I'll put all the measurements in the comments below. But the cardstock is 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. And then I scored it at 5 1/2. And on this one, I'm just going to leave it plain, I think. Actually, maybe you guys, I'll put it together and then you tell me. If you want it embossed, we'll have Steve go emboss it. And then I was going to put this layer, which is 4 by 5 1/4. It's early espresso. That was going to be my back layer. And then your other card, the little card, this measures 3 1/4 by 8 1/2, and I scored it at 4 1/4. So that's going to be my card going in here. And then, remember I told you with the scraps and everything? If you take your cardstock before you cut out the leaf, you can make something with this part of it. So let me measure it and see what I did. I took a piece of cardstock 2 1/2 by 3 1/2. And then I ran that same leaf punch through, and I thought, well, it looks pretty on top too. And then I took the baker's twine. Is that what they call this? Linen thread, not baker's twine. It's like baker's twine. I do have a tip for you on this. My baker's twine, this one is an old one. Do you remember when Stampin' Up! Colors were this? It's bent. I don't like it to be bent. So I took my bone folder, and just like you do with curling ribbon, you put your thumb on there and go down the length of it. And this is how I got the bend, what'd you call it, bends? The creases out of...
You don't want the bends, honey, trust me. I'm a scuba diver, I can tell you, that's bad.
Okay. Okay, so tell them what that is.
The bends is when you have too much nitrogen in your blood and it forms a bubble, and it's not good. It's very dangerous. So she doesn't want the bends.
No, I don't. But I wasn't thinking scuba diving at all. Okay, so on this one, hello, Wendy. I'm glad you're here. Steve is here today, too. So the plaid tidings paper on this is 3 inches by 4 inches. And I'm going to put that right on the crushed curry. And then remember when I talked about popping up that I didn't pop up the paper on that leaf. I just taped it right to the back. On this one, we are going to pop it up. So this goes on the center, again with glue, so I can center it as well as I can under the camera. And then I showed you the linen thread. I wrapped it around 3 times, and then I tied a bow. And then I put dimensional pieces. These are the corner pieces left over. I use everything. Aren't you glad to hear that, honey? I'm not wasting my stamping supplies.
I'm glad to hear that we get our money's worth.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, there was a question about your gadget for bows. And I have a suggestion for folks that don't have the little gadget. If you want the quick and dirty way, get a couple long finishing nails and knock them into a block of wood. Or if you want to be able to adjust them, like she can adjust these pegs, put them in your cribbage board. And the long, thin finishing nails, you can use those to do the same thing here.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, that is why they're separate holes. The closer they are together, the smaller the bow I'm making. So for this size bow right here, they were separated a little bit. But yeah, you could put long, they'd have to be really skinny nails to fit in the cribbage.
Finishing nails is what they're called.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I popped this up on dimensionals and then have that linen thread tied around. You guys like that? I thought that would be fun. Okay, so here's my question. And I do have a white piece for inside. Do you like it plain too, or is it better embossed? Okay, so this one is embossed with 3 different folders. This one is plain. So my question is, should I emboss some of these pieces? The early espresso piece and the flap of the pretty peacock? Or should I leave it plain? Is there enough going on with the plaid and the...
I think there's plenty going on that.
Yeah, see, Steve is not lots of stuff on a card. Do you agree with Steve? Should we leave this one plain? I guess that would be the only one totally plain. All the others, some of you haven't seen these yet. This one is plain, except it has the pretty, what is this called, hun? Let me look. It is called Magenta Madness, the DSP with the dots. That's cute and plain. This is 3 embossing folders. And then this one has 2 different designer series papers. You like the second one plain, Mary? Well, we did today for you, Mary, so I will make it plain. Look at that. Mary is going to make it so you don't have to emboss anything, hun.
There you go. Well, I have another question about this card.
What's that?
Is it possible... What I really liked about the other one is that the plaid was just inside the flower. Is it possible to just make the card a little bit plainer by not having the plaid be the entire background?
You could, but not on this one. Because this one is glued down, honey.
Sorry.
That is a great suggestion. So Steve is joining me on my rabbit trail. This is how when I make a card, I usually make 4 or 5 or 7 because I just think, well, I could do this or I could do this. I was talking with my Stamping Joy team. We Zoom every Monday night, and one of us shows how to make a new 3D fold or 3D project or fun fold. And we also show what we've been working on. And what's my point? I had a point. I'm losing my mind.
Suggestions for variations.
Oh, I was talking about we're getting ready to do our Christmas sampler. And so I call my first card my prototype. And then every card, when I make it again, it gets better. So I feel like sometimes the first version of your card isn't the final version. So on this one, I glued down the early espresso, and now I'm going to glue down the back of this card and center it on the early espresso. So does anyone else have any questions for me or for Steve? And we are almost done. I do have some other fall cards to show you, so stick with me for a few more minutes if you can.
So Courtney has a question about whether you share in and get involved in my hobbies.
Well, let's see. Steve's hobbies are skiing, and yes, I ski. I actually taught him how to ski, but he's way better than me now. I did like it better back in the day when I was skiing and he was learning, but it's definitely your hobby now, don't you think?
So, wow, I can't believe you didn't think of this, but recently I wrote a book about how to create a successful outcome from college, because that's kind of my jam. It's kind of what I do working with college students. And Beth literally read the entire book out loud. And as she did that, we caught so many errors and missing words and better ways to say things. And she was a trooper.
So he gave me the book and said, please edit it. And I like fixing punctuation and spelling. Not as good at grammar as I am punctuation and spelling. But I said, if you read it, you're going to read what you meant to write. And if I read it, I'm going to read what's really there. So by reading it out loud, along the way, I fixed the spelling and the punctuation. He fixed the grammar and also changed it to the way he really meant it to be. So,
and honestly, there are a few things that I said, that really doesn't sound good. We need to say something different.
We need to start over again. Yeah, that is true. So that is one of his hobbies. He also has the hobby of scuba diving. And I've tried really hard. I think you've heard that story. I've tried to scuba dive with him very unsuccessfully. So I go and I'm very caring and giving. I sit on the deck, the covered deck patio in front of the pool looking at the ocean while he scuba dives. So that's how I participate in that.
Kind of like a long distance lifeguard.
Yeah, I watch him out there. No, usually he's with a team. But these two kind of coordinate. Look at this, hun. Do you like these? So here's our two we made today. Mary asked us to make this. And then when I was prepping for this, oh, by the way, if you do stamping, mystery stamping with me, it starts on Fridays. It used to be over the weekend. Now we're going to go a whole week. These were my colors for mystery stamping. So just so you know, one of these two is my mystery stamping card because it uses all the colors of last week's color challenge. So
shout out to Amy, who just got on.
Hello, Amy. Okay, I have to tell you something about Amy. She has two neighbor girls, and how old are they, Amy? She has taught them how to stamp. And one of the little girls was on our Zoom call on Monday, and she showed us a cute 3x3 square she made that could go on a sampler. And we needed, we're all the way up to 18 so we can make two samplers. And so Natalie volunteered to make the 18th square. So anyway.
So sharing the love of stamping with the next generation.
Yes. Amy is doing a good job. She even took them biking and out for ice cream. So I think I want to be Amy's neighbor.
There was also a question about when you're going to have me try to make another card. And I find that really intimidating.
Do you guys want Steve to make a card?
If I could take your scraps and try and suggest what you could do with them and kind of, I would be willing to do that. Okay. Your rabbit trail, I can go down the rabbit trail with you and tell you what I would do with the extra pieces.
Okay, well, I will give you some of the fall scraps. Maybe you should show next week out of the leaves and things. So I do. Here's another one I was going to make, and I didn't get to it. All of a sudden, it was noon. I did the embossing on these leaves. And wouldn't this look pretty to somehow put these together in a bow? And you could put that on the front of a card. So there are lots of scraps here. I do have some other fall cards to show you. You might have seen some of them before. This is probably my very favorite fall card that I've made this year. It's mint macaron, and it's the Gilded Autumn paper. And then I punched and fussy cut stems and leaves out. And then I did copper embossing powder to emboss this. And then this is the Scripty, I don't know if you can see it on camera, Scripty embossing folder. So I really, really like this card. And then here's some sunflower cards. Get out your sunflowers. I know a lot of you have them. Celebrate Sunflowers is the stamp set. And this is a cute card. This is actually Jean's 3x3 square that went on our autumn sampler. Actually, do you want to go get that, hun, and I'll show it? Maybe not everyone saw the sampler when I showed it a few weeks ago. Just a second. I'm going to show one other card. This is a fun fold that I had in Kylie's contest, I think last month. And it folds flat to mail. And then you have a place to write here. And then you fold it up and put it behind the thanks. So yeah, hopefully this gives you some idea, Mary and everybody, for fall cards.
Mary says she really likes the plaid on the outside. And she was very nice about it, but I think what she was really saying is, I don't know what I'm talking about, which is probably true.
So Mary, send me your address and I will send this card to you. And thank you for suggesting what I should do this week. It makes it easier than me guessing. Here is 9 of the squares. We actually had 11 altogether. And Linda Mandernack's on here. She made this one. So pretty, Linda. And this is the one I made. If Angie's on, she made this one. Linda Lace made this one. Actually, okay. Me, Amy, Angie, Georgia, Marceline, Cheryl, Dawn, Linda, and Linda made these. And then there's 2 other super cute ones that are probably on the table. Do you want to go get them? There's a gnome that Barb Kingsley made, and then Jean made a beautiful 3x3 too. It's hard when you have 11 of them and you can only put 9 on. But Mary, this is the one you want. Oh, you like the sampler? You know, a lot of people have reached out and wanted to participate in a sampler. So I think I'm going to start a community of people that are kind, joyful stampers who want to make samplers and want to encourage each other. And I think it would be a good thing for us to have.
Okay. For all other ones.
Okay. These 2 I already showed.
Okay.
Is there one over there? What did you, it's like this. Didn't she make a sunflower? Well, I can just show you that. This one is by Barb Kingsley, and she made a gnome, and this is a candy corn for his hat. Isn't that cute? This is one of the, and then those cards I showed you also had these on, but this is Jean's square. So these 2, in addition to the 9 that are in the frame, were what our fall sampler was. And then we'll have 18 for the spring. Here's one that we have ready for the Christmas sampler. Hark the Herald Angels Sing with Wings. Isn't that cute? I love this. So anyway, we have probably kept you too long. Is there any other questions? So anyway, thanks for joining me. You guys are awesome. If you watch the replay, please hit replay. And I would love it if you would comment and share the video. And I will see you next week at noon. Please join me Friday for a new mystery stamping. And that will go up at noon on Friday. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.
Bye.